Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Today we have 4 stories for you, starting with the story of the worst bar visitor imaginable. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. And our first story. Guy gets abusive to staff after bar closing. We call the police, guy digs a massive hole. A few years back, I was working as a hotel receptionist. We were a hotel of about 75 rooms, so roughly 150 to 190 capacity, and we just so happened to have the bulk of 2 wedding guests staying with us. Needless to say, we were busy, and seeing as how it was just 2 of us, we managed the bar and reception. They were joined. One wedding had a lot of these rich, smarmy, silver spoon-in-mouth type people. They weren't all jerks in their party. Some of them were genuinely nice, interesting people who were behaving politely and well-behaved. It was for this reason that we kept the bar open for them. Anyway, as the night starts to wind down, people are going to bed, we shut the bar. People are fine with this except one. This one smarmy jerk who wanted everyone to know his upper-class status, his wealth, what car he drove. So we tell him that the bar will not be serving any more alcohol and that the bar is closed. Nope, he didn't like that. Demands that it be left open and that he has spent loads of money to demand this. The guy spent like 75 pounds on a room and another 30 or 40 on beer. Not earth-shattering amounts, seeing as people had spent far more than that. We politely tell him to retire to his room. Nope again. This time he squares up to my friend. At this point, I should note that my friend is a licensed doorman and ex-military, so he can handle himself. My friend proceeds to tell Mr. High Society that he will need to return to his room or vacate the hotel. Nope, he pushes my friend. I call the police as we couldn't kick the guy out of the hotel and let him wander around as the hotel was on a roundabout which was between 2 busy roads and it'd be irresponsible. The guy, knowing he's effed up, just sits there all quiet while we wait for the police. The police arrive and arrest the guy for being drunk and disorderly. Here's the juicy part. They put the guy in the back of the police car and talk to myself and my friend. While we're talking, we hear this strange noise over the policeman's shoulder radio. That noise turns into some screaming to be let out. Yup, scared the crap out of all of us. So we turn around and Posh Boy is holding the in-car radio, screaming at the top of his voice. Yup, police weren't impressed, so they cuff him and station the other officer with him. They finish with us, and as they're about to leave, they find the dirty B-turd is laughing his head off, peeing himself in the back seat of the police car. So much win. Because of this guy not wanting to go to bed, he landed himself with a 80-pound drunk and disorderly charge, unsolicited use of police comms, criminal damage, and the cost to clean. And to add icing to the cake, when his friends come down the next morning to check out and ask where he is and if we checked him out already, we tell them all what happened, and they laugh their butts off. Oh, and we found 20 pounds on the floor where he was sitting. Finn. And our second story. Wife cheats on her husband, abuses their children, and lies in court. Enjoy not having your kids anymore? For cast, we have Mom, S is sister, me, and my dad. I have no concrete dialogue for this story since it happened about 4 years ago, and I pretty much want to forget about it. Now some background. My mother is not exactly the best person in the world. She used to abuse me and my sister both physically and mostly mentally, avoid responsibilities at home, and she also decided to cheat on my dad with several men around 13 years ago and never stopped. When my father discovered this, he simply stopped sleeping in the same room and stopped being affectionate towards her. He stayed with her for us, sister and I, and decided to raise us basically alone since Mom was always outside with her partners. My mother used to simply arrive home to eat and sleep. The rest of the day she claimed to be working overtime. However, all the money she made was kept away for herself, and my father had to do real overtime to take care of us, and he was tired of not getting any help. Here's where my dad's revenge plan starts. He stayed quiet for a long time, managing work and parenting very well, but in the meantime, he was collecting all the evidence he could about my mom's cheating, as well as evidence of abuse toward S and I, and he also kept supporting us, teaching us how to stand up for ourselves and each other, helping us understand how bad Mom's behavior was, and we don't need to justify her bad treatment just for being our mother. He kept being the best person he could for about 10 years until S and I were old enough to testify in court. Then he immediately asked for a divorce and got it very easily since Mom kept lying about how he was abusing me and my children, but of course he had proof of her cheating and being the abuser, so they got divorced. But the plan didn't end there, since he wanted us to live with him. My dad left our house immediately after the divorce, and 2 weeks later, I moved with him. My sister stayed with Mom. Let's skip some months until the court date to discuss the kids' custody. About 6 months prior, my mom lied about me living with her so she could get that sweet child support check. But when the court date arrived, S and me testified against her, explaining how bad of a mother she was, etc., and I said that I've been living with my dad for months, contrary to what my mother has said. Of course, she wanted to play the victim here with lies, which we refuted. The judge was not having it and told her that she needed to stop lying because she was being fined for lying to a judicial authority. Of course, she lost custody and was forced to return the child support money to us. Now she lives alone and sometimes tries to play the "forgive me, I know I did wrong" card with us, only to ask for money right after. But none of us want to see her again. And our third story. Change me from hourly to salary to cut my pay? Okay. This takes place in the before times, when people could eat out and gather in large numbers. I used to work as a chef for an owner who liked to micromanage things and was a bit narcissistic. I had been working there about 3 years, getting good reviews, customers loved me, updated the menu, made everything from scratch. People used to think the place was open box/heat serve food. Quality had gone up, morale was great in my kitchen, annual sales went from $850K to $1.4 million, about maximum capacity for the space. The increase in sales and income went to the owner's head. He was always spending money on frivolous things and squandering cash. Sound system, stage for the event space, etc. One example, I needed a new alto sham. A used one would have sufficed. Nope, he bought a top-of-the-line one that could be used as a smoker, too. $12K versus what I wanted. Could have been gotten for $1,500. Granted, I enjoyed that piece of equipment, which after I left, they no longer used the smoker function. Years later, I still occasionally get email invoices from a vendor and see they bring in pre-cooked smoked meats now. I was hourly, but then the owner realized during the busy season, I and my sous chef put in 70 to 80-hour weeks. Doing this, he realized I made more take-home pay from his business than he did. At peak times, he'd maybe work 40 to 50 hours a week. To save money, he puts me and my sous on salary, effectively cutting my pay about $10K a year. My sous netted a loss of $2K a year if we were to work at our current level of effort. During all this, the owner is saying that he's not expecting us to work over 40 hours a week ever. He even has this written into our contracts. So with the extra time off at home with my family, it's okay. I still like the job and my staff. During the slower time, this was great. Also during this time, I won a local award for my cooking, and the narcissistic owner was not too pleased. He was no longer recognized as the creative force in the kitchen that bears his name, so his meddling and micromanaging increased. It had gone from, "It's your kitchen, Cop Chef, do what you want," to, "It's my name and my kitchen, do it this way." Morale and quality began to suffer. Just prior to the holiday season, my sous wants to go back to his home country for 2.5 months. November, December, and January, peak crazy time for us. I have good help and I'm good with it. Owner approved the time off. Owner thinking, I'm going to save him some money that holiday season by working my usual 70 to 80 hours a week. Nope. Cue the malicious compliance. I start writing the holiday schedule. Sue is on vacation. I have my 40 during key prep times and peak business times. The rest of my staff gets serious overtime. Basically, the Sue and I carried a lot of the weight in the kitchen and could outperform most of our small staff. So with Sue on vacay and I only pulling 40 full-time, staff is now working 60-ish hours a week and part-timers are getting 40. Things are running pretty smoothly until the owner realizes I'm not there like I always am during the holiday rush. He's in the kitchen more, trying to micromanage my staff, giving them poor advice, contradicting my directions and timing for events, screwing up the small parties my staff could handle while I'm off. After a few weeks of this, he realizes he's going to be paying the staff out more in overtime than he saved on moving me and my Sue to salary. He starts demanding I work more hours and stop hemorrhaging OT to the kitchen staff. I show him my contract where I am not expected to work over 40 hours a week. Now he just says it's a guideline. I hold him to the 40 a week. It's Christmas, and now I can for once spend time with my family. Now with my Sue returning, I'm burned out from the constant micromanaging and gaslighting by the owner. I hand the reins to my Sue and change careers after 25 years in the industry and never look back. And our last story. Because some people mistook us for a bank and complained, corporate changed the policy on $50 and $100 bills. Despite the big bold sign written in such a way that even the North Sentinelese could understand it, almost everyone with 50s and 100s thinks they don't need a stinking bank and will just go to us to get that big bill broken down. Well, it keeps wiping out our tills when they raise a fuss, and eventually they called corporate. Their response was to have us rescind the policy, carry more money in the tills. Obviously, they've never worked a till in their lives, otherwise they'd know why we don't carry disgusting amounts of money in the register. But they didn't tell us we needed 20s and 10s, so we decided to start some malicious compliance. So we go to the bank and their mouths twist into a grin like that of a midnight lichen rock when we tell them. We get dozens of 5s and 1s, and wait. First effer walks in and smugly places down a $100 bill. His change is $95. Here we go. I start singing the Schoolhouse Rock song. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. He gets 19 $5 bills. He asks where the 20s are, and I tell him, we're out. People keep paying with 50s and 100s and wipe out the 10s and 20s. Second effort comes in and pays for a 50-cent cookie with a 50. When he gets 9 5s, he says he wanted 20s. I inform him that he could always go to the bank. This continues for 4 more effers. Take that. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.